All right, so this is step 3 in the 3D modeling project, or the 3D print project. So I've made a little blue tugboat in Inventor, and I'm going to make this pretty small. It's about 2 inches in length, so it's a kind of just like a little knick-knack. Anyway, so we're going to go File, New, and start a drawing. Just real quick, I'm going to make my mouse a little bit bigger for you. Boom. There we go. Okay, so I've got this sheet that's defaulted here. It's automatically going to open up a size D, and that's way too big for what I'm doing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the left here in the model browser, and I'm going to right-click on sheet 1, and I'm going to say Edit Sheet. I'm going to change this from size A, from size D to size A. I'll click OK. And I'm going to have this thing down here. This is the title block. We really should use this more often, but for today we're just going to kind of ignore it. I'm going to right-click on ANSI Large and say Delete, and that'll just get rid of it. This will give us more space to work with. Down the road we'll focus more on using the title block. So first thing we're going to need to do is click Base. So we're going to click the base, and this little view is going to pop up, and it will default to the center of the page. Before I do anything else, I'm going to want to put it down here in the bottom left corner. This is going to be our front view, and I want to make sure it fits right there. So for this design, I don't want the wireframe up here, so where it shows all the hidden lines. I want this to be solid, and I want it to be shaded. So this will keep the colors if I've got that. And because we're not printing this, it's okay to have the color. We're just going to be submitting this online as a PDF. So why not make it look nice? So down here for the scale, I'm going to kind of figure out what scale is best. Sometimes you can't really tell until after you have placed the other views. So I'm going to go ahead and just leave it at 1 right now and see what happens. And I come up here, notice how this little box follows my cursor. I'm going to click 3 times to place my top, my isometric view, and my right view. And then I'll right click and say OK. So that'll bring up all these views. So they fit, but they look a little bit small. I think I could make these a little bit bigger. So this view down here, my bottom left, my front view, is my anchor view. So if I change this one, the others, excluding the asymmetric, but these others 2 will change with it. So I right click, say Edit View, and I want mine to be, let's say 2 to 1. I'll click OK. That's pretty big. I think we can make this work though. We're not going to use a ton of dimensions in this sketch, so I think we'll make this work okay. That's a little crowded. Then I'm going to change this one, right click, Edit View, and let's say 2 to 1. And whoop, I want that. Right click, Edit View, 2 to 1. Okay. So I've got these views, and on second thought, I think I want to make these a little bit smaller. So I'm going to right click and say Edit View, and if I want something between 1 to 1 and 2 to 1, I can always just type in a fraction, or not a fraction, decimal. I'm going to say 1.5. So that's kind of in between. Click OK. So this means it's 150% of the original size. Okay, so I'm going up here to annotate, and the first thing I want to put on here are all my center lines, center marks, and hidden center bisectors. So I'm going to click my center mark right here, and anywhere there's a circle, I want to zoom in. I'm going to put that right here so it makes a little crosshairs, and I don't need to put it on my isometric view, but I do need it over here. So I'm going to click right, if it's going to let me do it, right here, and right there. I guess I had to do it twice on that one. Okay, so then centerline bisectors, I'm going to click this one, and I don't need this on every spot, but I'm going to want to put it, I don't know if it'll let me on this one. No, it won't, so I'll just ignore that one. But I do need it on here, so here to here, and that's going to show that this tube right here, the steam pipe, is shelled out, so it's kind of hollowed out right there. Actually, you know what? I think I might have gone too far. Let's try that one more time. I'm going to come in and I want that line and that line. Yeah, it's the same thing. Okay, right click and say cancel escape out of there. And we're not going to go crazy on the dimensions because something this complicated really would have like close to maybe not 100, but like 50 dimensions on there. So I'm going to take just my major ones and I say dimension, and I want my overall length, height, and width or depth or whatever. Those are my three most important ones. So I'm going to click the ones that show those dimensions the best. So this one gives me the best view of a top, or so kind of these different elevations. So I'm going to say baseline. I'm going to click this bottom line right here. I'll click this line. I want to reference this center mark, maybe this roof and this, and then I'm right click and say continue. And then there's the part that we always miss. Right click one more time, and or sorry, not right click, left click, and then right click and say create. And that will give you that. So it's 0.5, 0.75, 1, 1.25. Okay, now I'll go baseline again, and I'm going to go from this back end, and I'm going to go the other way, clicking all the vertical lines. So I'm going to go 1, 2, we can ignore that one because it's a hidden line, 3, 4, and then maybe this right here. And I'm just right click and say continue. And then left click, right click, create. So I don't know why I clicked there. So I'm going to, if I want to delete this one, I can right click on it and just say delete. I can go back to here to dimension and I can add in the one that I missed, which is right here, like that. So okay. Okay, so that looks pretty good for that view. I'm glad we made these a little smaller because that would have been a lot of dimensions to put in one spot. Okay, so next little bit here, we don't know the width of the boat, so I'm probably going to use this view. Well, maybe we'll use this one because it gets narrower towards the back. So I'm going to say dimension, and I'm going to click that point and that point, drop that there. Okay, dimension, oops, here and here. And actually I've already made a mistake here. I need to put these in between views as much as possible like that. So that just shows that it gets slightly more narrow as it goes back. Yeah, so that looks pretty good. All right, and then you've got the height right there. We've got the width. We don't have, oh no, we do. We've got the length of the boat right there. So the next thing I'd worry about was probably the diameters. So I'm going to say dimension, and anywhere there's a circle like this, I want to put in the diameters like that. Click OK. Pretty awesome, and I think we're good on this one, but I do need one right here. So click here, and I'll bring this out as far as I can, like that. I'll say OK. Okay, so I think that's pretty good. And realistically, there's still a dozen, tons of different dimensions that we should include here. But because there's so many fillets and so many chamfers and angles and stuff, we're going to kind of ignore them because there's a lot of information, and we don't want to overwhelm the sketch too much, or the students. So we'll just call this good. So as long as you have about 5 dimensions and that 3 of them describe your overall height, width, and depth, then you are just fine. However, we also need to add in, or no, that's good. So if you want to add in a title, you can click the text here. I'm going to put a text box right there, and I'm going to write in here and say this is the, all caps, Lil Tugboat. I can highlight the text there, and then let's make this 0.24, so it's pretty big, bold it, and say OK. Right click on right. Then I can move this around however I want. I could put it in the bottom left if I wanted. It's just kind of a matter of preference on that one. I kind of like putting it up near the isometric, but it's up to you. So I'm just going to put it right there in the middle. narrow the text box and center it. Cool. All right, so that would work for this assignment. Once you've got that baby, you can click File, Save. Save it somewhere safe. I've got mine just the downloads because I'm going to delete this, but you're going to want to save it to your student drive. And then you'll go File. Come on. File, and we're going to say Export PDF. And save it as whatever it is. Click Save. And then on the assignment, go ahead and submit it, and that is a wrap for the CAD drawing, the multi-view CAD drawing. So if you got that in, you can turn it, and that's it. Good work.